My name is Ethan McAllister. I'm 15 years old and I live in a quiet town near Austin, Texas. A few days ago, something happened to me. Something I never imagined, never planned, and certainly never wanted. But it changed everything. Not just in me, but possibly in you too, if you're willing to hear. This is not a story I'm telling for attention or likes or fame. It's something I must share because I saw something. I lived through something. I was shown something. And keeping it to myself would be a betrayal, not just to the one who showed me, but to you. If you've ever wondered what lies beyond death, if you've ever asked if there's more to life than the noise and distractions, if you've felt that something is deeply wrong in the world and that time is running out, then you need to listen to this. You need to feel it, because I died. And when I did, I didn't just see a light. I saw the truth. It began on a regular day, July 3rd. There was nothing special about it. The sky was moody all day, sure, but that's Texas. Storms roll through all the time. I was at home with my mom and little sister, Emily. My dad was out on the night shift at the power plant. Everything felt normal, quiet even. But looking back, there was something in the air. A kind of pressure, like the sky was holding its breath. No one noticed it. Not really, but I did. Something felt off, and I was right. That night the rain came. Not just rain. A wall of water from the heavens. It came suddenly and violently, like the sky had been ripped open. In minutes, the streets flooded. Brush Creek, normally a gentle stream behind our house, turned into a raging monster. The water reached our doorstep. My mom shook me awake, screaming my name. The panic in her voice is something I still hear in my dreams. Emily cried in her arms. We tried to climb to the roof. We never made it. The water hit us hard, cold, heavy, alive. I tried to hold on, but the current was too strong. I remember screaming, my mom's name, my sister's, anyone who could hear. But the only answer was the roar of water. It pulled me down. Something hit me. Maybe a tree, maybe a car. Pain exploded in my chest. My head throbbed. Then, nothing. Just silence, weightlessness, cold darkness. And then, peace. Not the kind of peace you feel when you take a deep breath or hear your favorite song. This was deeper, eternal. The pain faded. My body wasn't real anymore. I wasn't breathing. I wasn't drowning. I wasn't, anything. I was just there, floating, aware, still. I thought, this is death. And strangely, I wasn't afraid. In fact, for the first time in my life, I felt free. What happened next is impossible to explain, but I will try. Because it matters. Because someone out there, maybe you, needs to know what waits on the other side. I didn't see tunnels. I didn't see angels with wings. I saw light, but not a burning light. A living light. A light that welcomed me without a word. A light that held me, understood me, healed me. I wasn't standing in a place. I was inside a presence. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a vision. It was more real than anything I've ever touched. And then, I wasn't alone. He was there. He didn't say his name. He didn't need to. I knew. It was Jesus. Not the Jesus from the stained glass windows. Not the one from church pamphlets. He wasn't just a man. He was presence. He was love itself. The moment I saw him, I broke. I sobbed like a child. But not from sadness. From recognition. My soul remembered him. It knew him. And he knew me. Every part of me. Even the parts I hated. He looked into me, not at me, into me, and without moving his lips, he spoke. Ethan. That's all. Just my name. But in that name, I heard everything. He had always known me, had never left me. Every prayer, every secret fear, every lost dream. I saw them in his eyes. And then he said something that still echoes in my chest. You haven't finished. I didn't know what he meant, but I would. Oh, I would. I wanted to stay there. That place, him, it was everything I never knew I needed. The love, the peace, the clarity. There was no fear, no confusion, no shame. I didn't want to go back. I didn't even remember what back was. The world I'd come from felt far away, like a fading dream. But he looked at me again with eyes that saw eternity, and I felt something shift, like I was about to be shown something I was chosen to carry. I didn't understand it at first, but I trusted him. Completely. That trust wasn't earned. It was remembered. Ancient. Suddenly everything around us began to change. The light became something else. like layers unfolding into vision. Not a screen, not a dream. I was inside it. I wasn't watching the future. I was walking through it. Every sense was alive. I could feel wind on my skin, hear the cries of people I didn't know, taste the dust in the air. I had no body, but I felt more than ever before. Jesus stood beside me, calm, present. He didn't explain. He didn't need to. The truth was flowing into my soul directly, like water into an empty cup. I found myself standing in the middle of a city I had never visited, but immediately recognized. It was Rio de Janeiro. I saw the landmarks, the colors, the language on the signs. But the sky wasn't right. It was black, swirling, spinning like it was angry. The clouds didn't look like clouds. They looked like wounds in the atmosphere. The wind howled through the streets. People ran in every direction. They screamed, banged on doors, tried to protect their homes with planks and plastic, but nothing held. Nothing could. Then I saw it. A wall of water rising from the sea. It wasn't a wave. It was an ocean on its feet, marching toward land. And it didn't stop. It swallowed everything. Whole neighborhoods vanished. Children were ripped from their parents' arms. Cars floated like toys. I felt their panic. I felt their fear. It wasn't just a vision. It was their pain, and it pierced through me like fire. I tried to close my eyes to look away, but I couldn't. I was meant to see it, to feel it, to remember it. Jesus wasn't showing me this to terrify me. He was preparing me. The scene shifted again. I was back in the United States, but not the way I remembered it. It looked like New Orleans, but it wasn't the past. It was worse than anything that's come before. The floodwaters were alive, moving with fury, swallowing everything in their path. Power lines sparked, cars crashed into buildings, bridges collapsed into muddy chaos. I saw people climbing rooftops begging for help. I saw elderly people trapped in buses. I saw children screaming into the sky, and I felt helpless, completely helpless. I turned to Jesus, but he didn't speak. His silence was heavy, but even in that silence I understood. This wasn't punishment. It was consequence. The earth was reacting, not out of anger, but out of pain, like a body infected too long without healing. He didn't need to say a word. I could feel it in my spirit. Humanity had turned away, not just from him, but from each other, from truth, from care. The earth was crying out, but we had gone deaf. And yet, even in the middle of destruction, his presence never left. He wasn't abandoning us. He was calling us to see, to listen, to turn around. The next vision was fire. I was in Paris now, but it didn't look like the city of love. It looked like the edge of hell. Heat wrapped the streets like a serpent. Trees in public parks burned. Asphalt melted. People collapsed in the streets, unable to breathe. Hospitals had no power. Fire trucks were overwhelmed. I could barely recognize anything. The sky burned red. Not a sunset, but a warning. I heard sirens, explosions, screams. It was relentless. And through it all, I felt Jesus standing beside me. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't angry, but he was grieving. And that grief was mine now, too. Then everything went silent. The noise, the heat, the terror, it all disappeared in an instant. But it wasn't peace. It was the quiet before the next storm. I was somewhere new again. Germany, I think. There was water here too, but it came differently. Not as a slow rise, but like a trap. People walking through tunnels were suddenly underwater. The floods came with no warning. Streets became rivers in minutes. I saw people pounding on glass, stuck inside subway cars. I couldn't help them. I wanted to scream, to pull them out. But I was a witness, not a rescuer. That realization shattered me. Next came Italy. I stood in the center of Milan. The sun was merciless. Not a single cloud in the sky. Week after week, no rain, no relief. I walked through markets with empty shelves. People fought over bottles of water. Children sat on sidewalks too weak to cry. I saw fields with cracked earth, animals dying of thirst. It wasn't just environmental, it was spiritual. The people were dry on the inside too. I could feel it. That emptiness was worse than death, and it was spreading. Jesus said nothing, but his presence grew heavier, as if even he was holding back tears. Then I was in South Korea. The landscape shifted violently. One moment, it was green. The next, Everything was white. A blizzard, sudden and brutal, covered everything. I watched crops die under thick snow. I saw buildings collapse under the weight of ice. People wrapped in blankets wandered, looking for shelter. Power was gone. Roads were useless. It wasn't just cold, it was hopeless. And still, I had to watch. I had to feel it. Not because I deserved to suffer, but because someone needed to carry this truth, to tell it. Mexico came next. A storm like no other. It wasn't forecast, it wasn't tracked. It just appeared. Like a monster born from the sea, it tore through the coast, shredding everything in its path. Trees snapped like matchsticks, boats flew like paper, whole towns were erased. I saw a boy clinging to a tree branch, his face covered in mud and tears. He wasn't just scared, he was alone. Completely alone. That loneliness burned into me, and when I looked at Jesus, I finally broke. Why are you showing me this? I thought. And then came the answer I didn't want, but needed. This is not a punishment, he told me, his voice entering my soul, not my ears. It is a cry for change. That sentence felt like thunder in my chest, and in that moment, the visions moved faster. Amsterdam. The canals overflowed. Streets became lakes. Tourists screamed from hotel balconies. In Poland, tornadoes ripped through cities that had never known such winds. It wasn't random. It wasn't coincidence. It was a global shaking. And it wasn't over yet. The message was clear. The earth isn't dying, it's pleading. And we're the ones with the choice to respond. Every vision left something behind in me. A residue, a mark. I wasn't just observing the pain, I was absorbing it. I knew that when I returned, if I returned, I would carry it with me. I didn't want this burden. I didn't ask for it. But I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. I couldn't unknow what had been planted inside me. There's a weight that comes with witnessing suffering, a responsibility. And though I was just a boy, I understood that silence was no longer an option. I had to speak, even if no one believed me, even if I was called crazy. The truth had chosen me, and I had to honor it. Jesus looked at me again, and in his eyes I saw the world, not as it is, but as it could be, whole, healed, awake. And then he spoke again. There is still time. That phrase tore through the darkness. It was hope, not a promise that the pain would vanish, but that change was possible, that if people listened, turned back, repented, the story could be rewritten, not erased, but transformed. That hope is why I'm still talking. That's why I haven't stopped sharing, not to scare you, but to warn you, to call you, to shake you awake before the shaking comes. He reached toward me, and everything slowed. The visions paused. The chaos faded. I felt the silence stretch around us, but it wasn't empty. It was full of presence, of weight, of something ancient. He placed his hand on my shoulder, and instantly I was transported again. But this time I wasn't in a country or a disaster zone. I wasn't in a moment of panic or heat or flood. I was above the earth somehow, looking down at the entire planet. It was beautiful and broken at the same time, like a wounded child still full of potential. From that height, I saw everything. Deserts cracking open like skin, glaciers shattering like glass, forests burning like paper. I saw animals migrating with no direction, birds falling from skies too hot to carry them. The oceans boiled, the skies trembled. The planet wasn't dying, it was in pain. It was running a fever, it was crying out. And in that cry, I felt something else, someone else. A voice, not in words, but in vibration. A low, deep hum, like the heartbeat of creation itself. I felt it echo in my bones. Jesus turned to me then. His face was calm, but his eyes held a sorrow I couldn't begin to carry. He said, "The voices of men are too loud, but they no longer hear." That sentence sliced through my heart. I saw people shouting into screens, debating over politics, arguing about everything. But no one was listening. No one was still. No one was paying attention to the whisper beneath the noise. I saw leaders laughing at warnings, churches fighting over power, families tearing each other apart over nothing. The world had lost its ears. Then he showed me something that broke me completely. The division. The spiritual sickness that spread like a shadow. I saw churches filled with people but empty of truth. Pastors preaching self instead of repentance. Followers more in love with fame than with God. I saw people claiming to represent him while ignoring the very heart of who he is. And at the same time, I saw the opposite. I saw humble, unseen souls, poor, quiet, unnoticed, living closer to heaven than those with titles. I understood then that appearance means nothing. Only the heart speaks loud enough for heaven to hear. The earth was sending letters. Every drought, every quake, every storm. They weren't random. They were messages, warnings, love letters from a wounded creation crying for its caretakers to return. And yet we dismissed them as coincidence, as science, as cycles. But I knew. I had felt it. Jesus hadn't said, "This might happen." He had said, "It has begun." And that truth rang like thunder inside my chest. We weren't waiting for the end. We were already inside it. We were already running out of time. But we didn't know it. He touched me again. And this time the pain returned. Not physical, deeper, like my soul itself was on fire. He said, "You will carry this pain, because it belongs to you too." That broke me. My knees gave way. I sobbed in his presence, not from fear but from the unbearable weight of what I now held. I asked with my heart, "What can we do?" He answered, "Repentance opens doors. Listening rewrites destinies." Those words felt like keys turning in locked places. They weren't suggestions. They were blueprints. That was the way out, if we chose to walk it. Then the scenes changed again, but something in me had shifted. I wasn't the same. The weight of what I had seen crushed me. It wasn't just about disasters. It was about what we had lost. Hope, compassion, wonder. I wanted to run, to hide, to sleep and forget it all. But he wouldn't let me, because this wasn't about comfort. It was about truth. And the truth hurts before it heals. I realized then that the visions weren't curses. They were mercy. They were warnings given in time. And if shared, maybe, just maybe, the course could still be changed. This time, I found myself in a place I can barely describe. It wasn't dark or bright. It was full of presence, of power. It wasn't a city or country. It was like standing between dimensions, where time stopped and truth became solid. Jesus was with me. And for the first time since the visions began, I felt relief. Not because everything was fine, but because I was seeing the other side of the storm. He pointed into the horizon. And there, I saw people. Men, women, children, all kneeling, all praying, silent, honest, broken, hopeful. Each one had a flame above their heads. Small, fragile, but real, alive. And I instantly knew. Those flames were their prayers. Not loud ones, not public ones. Private, painful, raw. I saw an old woman in Mexico praying for her neighborhood. A young man in Germany praying in the woods, unsure what to say but begging God to use him. I saw children praying for their parents, mothers praying through tears for their sons, men in prison cells whispering to heaven. They didn't know each other, but together, they were holding the world. Jesus looked at me and said, "These are the invisible hands that hold the planet." Those words shook me, because I realized then, it's not the powerful who sustain the earth. It's the prayerful, the humble, the forgotten, the ones who aren't seen by the world but are heard in heaven. Their prayers were pillars, their hearts were bridges. Because of them, the final collapse had not yet come. And I knew I had to become one of them. Not a preacher, not a prophet, just someone who would carry the message forward. Then I saw something I can never forget. A little boy in a Brazilian favela, dirt on his face, a torn shirt, alone. And yet, in his hands, he held a notebook, and in it, he was writing prayers. Prayers he had invented himself because no one had taught him how to pray. One of them said, "Dear Jesus, please don't let the world end. Make my mom smile again." I couldn't hold it. I wept. I wanted to go to him, to hug him, to promise him it would be okay. But all I could do was watch and remember. Jesus touched my shoulder again and said, "You think you're just a boy, Ethan. But when a heart is fully surrendered, it can move heaven." That sentence changed everything. I had spent so much time asking, why me? But now I knew. Not because I was special, but because I was willing. willing to carry, willing to speak, willing to break if it meant someone else might awaken. The world didn't need another hero, it needed another witness. And that was now my role. Not to convince, but to call. Not to shine, but to reflect. The visions began to dissolve. The intensity eased. But something inside me had changed forever. I was still there with him, but I felt myself being pulled away. The timeless was blending with time again. I heard distant voices, human ones, sirens, water, my name being shouted. I didn't want to go. I wasn't ready. The peace of that place was too perfect. I begged silently, "Let me stay. Don't send me back." But he smiled. And in that smile, I understood something terrible and beautiful. The pain of earth was why I had to return. His final words before I left still echo. "You will see more, but now you must go." And with that, I felt myself pulled, not falling, not flying, but like being threaded through space and time back into a body that now felt too small. And then, pain. Searing, shocking, undeniable pain. My lungs screamed, my chest burned. I heard yelling, people, paramedics. I was alive, barely, but alive. And I knew. This second chance wasn't random. It was a calling, one I could never walk away from. My eyes opened for only a second before closing again. Everything was blurred. Red lights, shadows, rushing figures. I felt pressure on my chest, someone yelling my name over and over. "Ethan! Ethan! Stay with us!" My body convulsed, pain seared through me like lightning, and for a moment I wanted to go back, to the light, the peace, the silence. But I couldn't. I was back. I was inside my body again, and the weight of what I had seen came crashing down on me with it. I knew something few others knew. I had seen what was coming. And now, I couldn't escape it. I was rushed to the hospital. Machines beeped around me, tubes in my throat, nurses moving quickly, voices muttering words like miracle and oxygen deprivation. But all I could think was, they have no idea. None of them knew that I had died, that I had gone to the edge and come back carrying something that wasn't mine to keep. My mom cried every time she looked at me. My little sister just held my hand. The doctor said I should have permanent damage, but I didn't. Not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, I was scorched. Everyone thought I was quiet because I was traumatized, because of the flood. But I wasn't quiet because of the flood. I was quiet because I had no words. How do you tell someone you've seen the face of Jesus? That he showed you the earth breaking like glass? That the pain of the world lives inside your bones now? I tried. I told a doctor. He smiled politely, wrote something in his chart. I told my mom. She listened, held me, but I saw it in her eyes. She thought it was oxygen starvation, that I was hallucinating. And I realized then, no one would fully understand. On the third day in the hospital, something cracked. I cried uncontrollably, not from fear, not from physical pain, but because I didn't know what to do with what I carried. A nurse came in, asked if I was in pain, offered more medication, but that wasn't the pain I meant. How do you describe the feeling of carrying a warning for the world while lying in a white bed surrounded by beeping monitors? I looked out the window at the sky, clear, calm, blue, and I wondered, is this the calm before the storm? Is this what the edge of prophecy feels like? And then I felt him again, not visibly this time, not in form, but in presence, thick, real. The air changed, my chest warmed, my skin prickled. I didn't hear his voice, but I heard it anyway. "Now speak." That was the moment. No choir, no thunder, just a whisper and a fire. I grabbed my phone, still weak, hands trembling. I opened the camera and stared into my own eyes on the screen. "My name is Ethan McAllister," I said. "I'm 15 years old. I was pulled into the flood on July 3rd. I died for a few minutes, and I saw what's coming. I uploaded the video without edits. No music, no filters. Just my voice, just the truth. I didn't know if anyone would believe me. I didn't care. It wasn't about belief. It was about obedience. When you've seen what I've seen, you stop asking for understanding. You start speaking for the ones who are still asleep. I closed my eyes after posting it and whispered, I did it. Not for me, not for applause, but because I had to. Because someone, somewhere might listen, and maybe that someone would be the reason I was sent back. The next day, my phone exploded. Thousands of messages. People from school, people from other states, other countries. Some mocked me, some called me delusional. Others said I was chosen. Some cried, some prayed. But what struck me most were the quiet voices, the ones that said, "I saw it too." People from across the world who didn't know each other started confessing visions, dreams, warnings, things no one believed, until they heard my voice. And in that chorus I realized, I'm not alone. I never was. I was just one of the first to speak. A woman from Poland messaged me. She said she dreamed of a flood in a European city she'd never been to. It matched what I saw in Paris. Water, panic, fire. A boy from South Korea said he'd dreamed of snow covering his school in summer, and the sound of something crying under the earth. A pastor in Brazil said she had sensed a warning for months, felt the waters rising spiritually even before the physical storms. None of us had spoken before. None of us had planned it. But all of us saw pieces of the same puzzle, and that changed everything. I showed my mom the messages. I expected her to dismiss them, but something softened in her. She didn't speak right away. She just held my hand and said, "Then you have a responsibility." That word hit hard. Responsibility. This wasn't a viral moment. It was a calling, not to predict, but to prepare. Not to control the future, but to honor the warning. And from that day forward, I knew I couldn't be silent again. I had to keep telling the truth, even when it hurt, even when it made me an outcast. Because the truth is not a trend, it's a lifeline. That night I tried to sleep. Back at home, my body still recovering, my soul still vibrating from everything I'd experienced. And then, like a warmth wrapping around me, I felt it again. Not a vision, not a message, a presence, golden, gentle, like arms around my spirit. I didn't see Jesus that time, but I didn't need to. His nearness was enough. And one sentence echoed through my chest like a heartbeat. "You're doing what you were sent to do." It wasn't approval, it was confirmation, and it gave me the strength to keep going. I opened my notebook. I wrote down every detail I could remember. Each country, each vision, each sound and word. I drew what I saw. I marked maps. I recorded everything, not to dramatize it, but to preserve it, because I knew deep down that what I carried was not mine. I was the messenger. The letter didn't belong to me. It belonged to the world, and I didn't want it to be lost or forgotten. My mission wasn't to become a prophet. It was to become a witness, a voice that echoes what was shown when no one else was listening. Since then, every day has been different. The world looks the same, but I don't. The sky, the streets, the conversations, they feel fragile, like everything could shift in a moment, like the storm is near, but no one sees the clouds. It's a strange tension, knowing what's coming while watching people live like everything is fine, like dancing on the deck of a ship that's slowly tilting toward the sea. And yet, I don't feel despair. I feel urgency. Urgency mixed with hope, because there is still time. Not much, but enough. My mom prays more now. She reads scripture at night. Sometimes I catch her staring at me with eyes that hold a mix of awe and worry, like she's still trying to figure out who I became. And I don't blame her. I'm still figuring it out too. I'm still the boy who forgets to take out the trash and eats too much pizza. But I'm also someone who died, who saw the other side, and who came back carrying a message that could change lives, if anyone dares to listen. And that duality is something I'm learning to carry every day. Today is July 10th. It's been a week since the flood, a week since I died, and I can still feel it all. The visions, the fire, the voice. I don't know when these things will happen. I don't know if it's tomorrow or 10 years from now, but I know they will. I know it as surely as I know my own name. And the hardest part? Knowing that most people aren't ready, that the world is still distracted, that the clock is still ticking. But that's why I'm here. Not to predict the end, but to awaken the beginning. To remind you, there is still time to listen. If you've watched this far, thank you. I don't know your name. I don't know where you're from, but I know this. You were meant to hear this. None of this happened by accident. Not what I saw, not what I experienced, and not you finding this video. Whether you believe every word or not, I hope one thing stays with you. The truth doesn't knock forever. One day it just moves on. The storms I saw weren't about weather. They were about the soul. The earth isn't just groaning under climate pressure. It's groaning under spiritual silence. We've stopped listening. We've stopped watching. We've stopped kneeling. But there is still time to return. Still time to shift. Still time to soften our hearts and look up. Not because of fear, but because of love. Because Jesus isn't done calling. And some of you feel that right now. So I'm asking you, don't just scroll. Don't just move on to the next video. Subscribe to this channel not for me, but because this message doesn't end here. There's more to share, more to warn, more to prepare. And follow Jesus, not the idea of him, but the real him. The one who burns through lies, silences fear, and calls the broken by name. He's calling you, the same way he called me. If something in your spirit stirred while listening, don't ignore it. Don't explain it away. Sit with it. Pray through it. Ask Jesus to show you what he showed me. And if you're ready, repent. Not out of guilt, but out of longing. Longing to live in truth. Longing to be free. Longing to wake up before it's too late. That's how change begins. That's how revival starts. Not with noise, but with one willing heart. If you've had dreams, visions, or moments like mine, don't keep them hidden. Share them. Speak them. Let others know they're not alone. This isn't just about one testimony. It's about a generation being called back to the truth. You don't have to be a preacher. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. Willing to speak. Willing to obey. Willing to stand in the tension of faith. Share this video. Comment below what you've experienced. Invite others to watch. Not for views, not for numbers, but because every heart that wakes up might be the one that changes everything. Every soul that turns might be the one that helps hold the world together. This is not a message to be kept quiet. It's a call to rise, to pray, to watch, to love. I'm still just Ethan. I'm still trying to figure it all out. But I know this. I was sent back for a reason. And maybe, just maybe, that reason included you. So if you're still here, I'm with you. I'm praying for you. I'm walking this road alongside you. We don't have much time, but we have enough. Let's use it well. Until next time, stay awake, stay humble, and stay near to Jesus. I'll see you soon.